Welcome to St. Louis on the Air. I'm Sarah Fensky. You might long these days to absent yourself from civilization, to live deliberately, and to front only the essential facts of life. And yes, that's a little Thoreau for you if you've been, it's been a while since you read Walden. No more lines at Target, no more messing with Zoom happy hours. If that appeals to you, Mike Clark, better known as Muddy Mike, is living the dream. The founder of canoeing company Big Muddy Adventures moved to a remote island in the Mississippi River almost a month ago. He calls it Quarantine Island. How long does he plan to stay? Well, why don't we ask him? So, joining us today to explain what he's up to on Quarantine Island is Muddy Mike Clark. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sarah. Good to be on the program.
Wow, your phone line actually sounds really great for being on a remote island. Civilization is kind of amazing in that it gets its tentacles in, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty ubiquitous, I guess. The engineer just asked if I was in my lucky spot, and I think he was referring to a place where I'd get a good connection, but maybe there's more to it.
Yeah, no, it sounds pretty amazing. But so you left civilization more than 3 weeks ago. What led you to do that at that point?
Well, this time of year, pretty much annually for quite a long time, I've been going out on these rivers to explore and to do some education things and basically prepare to come out and guide a full season of, outfitting and guiding with Big Muddy Adventures.
Mm-hmm.
So when the word came down that we weren't going to be able to guide and do what we love to do, I decided I would still come out on the river, but I was pretty cognizant back then that I couldn't and didn't want to be in contact. So to travel around would have, the probability of, solitude or distancing wasn't that great. But coming to this island, it was pretty good distancing.
You could truly be on your own.
It is very much I am on my own, but, we're talking and, it's not hard to connect to the world that's not here.
So set the scene for us. You're on this island. What does it look like? Is this such a big island that you can't see the other end of it from where you're standing? Or are you just on a tiny little piece of land in the middle of the river?
No, it's a very big island, actually. One of the bigger islands in the middle and upper Mississippi, or lower Mississippi River, and it's teeming with wildlife. It's very remote. There's the river is not at flood stage, so there's some sand, and the willows are blooming, and the forest is coming to life. So
you say it's teeming with wildlife. Who are some of your animal neighbors?
Well, after 27 days, I realized that I was kind of in a zoo, Quarantine Island Zoo. The difference being I'm the exhibit. I'm the human. Everyone else is like the caretaker. So there's a great herd of deer around. The coyotes are around. The bird life is fantastic, from birds that like the river to birds that like these bottomland forests. And then there's, the usuals, turtles and American beaver, and then there's spiders, and I've seen a couple of snakes. There's not much worry about, snakes that would do me harm.
I was going to say, this was all sounding so idyllic until you got to the spiders and snakes, and now I no longer want to join you on Quarantine Island. But these coyotes and deer, are they coming to and fro from island to mainland, or is there's a separate community living on this island?
Yeah, this is their community, I'm fairly certain. There's a decent-sized herd with there's a buck out here. He's the big boy, so to speak, and I had him come to camp a week or so ago, and I heard him snorting and stomping outside the tent. And he was just letting me know that, it's their domain, and, I have to respect it. So the spiders and the snakes and all of that, they're easy to avoid, to be perfectly honest.
They don't want to mess with you.
Not much does out here, interestingly. They're as curious of me as I am of them.
Now, I understand you originally took Dolly, your dog, with you, but I hear she's now back in civilization with your son. Dolly didn't like it out in the wilderness?
Oh, I think she actually loved it, but she's a older dog and a pretty big dog, and when big dogs get older, just like me and everybody else, the joints start hurting and sleeping on the ground, and she's pretty protective, so she was kind of on alert all the time. So I think she just kind of wore herself out. So she's on vacation from Quarantine Island. So
do you think she'll rejoin at some point?
I have a feeling, but right now I hear she's pretty comfortable.
So you mentioned sleeping on the ground. Do you have any sort of comfy setup for yourself, or are you really kind of just out there in the elements?
Well, I admittedly have pretty good gear. And this is what I do during the guiding season is I take people and we come out to places like this and camp and explore. And so the gear I have is quite comfortable for me. I use it all year in the guiding year. So I don't sleep directly on the ground. I have a typical air pad that you would carry on a backpack or in a canoe. So there's a few creature comforts. I do not have a stove, as that's kind of been tradition, and so I have to make fire in order to have a cup of coffee in the morning.
That sounds like so much work. I mean, so when you get up, how long before you can get that coffee to a point where you can drink it?
Well, I got smart over time, and I gather all the wood, and I pretty much set up I guess, if I were on land, I would set the timer on the coffee machine. So this way I'm pretty ready to go early in the morning, and I just get out and, if it's not wet, and I protect the wood so that it stays relatively dry, and then probably about a half hour from the time I actually unzip the tent door and come outside to being able to sit and have a cup of coffee.
So that's no Keurig, but it's not terrible. Sounds like you're making it work.
Yeah, and can I throw a plug in? I
Sure.
just got resupplied, and I got this Caldi coffee that apparently is benefiting Great Gateway Resilience Fund. So I was like, wow, that's really cool. So I'm enjoying this give back to the community kind of coffee.
So that Gateway Resilience Fund, I'm really glad you brought that up. I know Rue Yawitz, who's your partner in Big Muddy Adventures, he was on our show a couple weeks ago talking about the formation of this. This benefits laid off restaurant workers and others impacted by this. You're raising money for them just by being out there on the island. Are people paying you to stay on the island? How does that work?
So I'm not quite sure, to be honest, but from what I understand, I'm like at the bottom of the operations and logistics pole of Big Muddy Adventures. But from what I understand, when I came out here, we came up with a idea to benefit the Gateway Resilience Fund, and the way that they came up with it is for every day that I stayed out here, people would pledge some amount of money. So the length of my stay actually does amount to some money for the Gateway Resilience Fund.
Yeah, so you've been out there a long time already. I mean, you're going to hit a month within the next week here. Are you planning to bankrupt these people and just stay indefinitely?
Well, hopefully not bankrupt anyone. But, honestly, if people are willing to share and my stay out here, allows them to have a mission to it or something, then that's wonderful.
Have you given much thought to when you might return?
Every morning, how's that for an answer? But actually, no. Everyone is under basically the same rules, I believe, and that's the stay-at-home rules. And for right now, I'm at home. Like I said, I'm generally curious, and there's a lot out here that if you're a curious person, you can really entertain yourself and learn things too.
So how are you entertaining yourself? I guess I probably should have asked that first because, I mean, this is a long period of time you've been out there. I imagine you're not just looking at your phone all day, surfing social media. What are you doing day to day?
Well, I do a lot of, I guess, they're chores, gather firewood and stuff like that. And, I'm in the elements. That's the one thing. It's been really windy for, almost 2 weeks, and basically almost the whole month. It's been a smattering of really nice days and then a whole bunch of very windy and, often damp or wet. So the chores, are considerable. And then I'm actually picking up trash out here. There's a considerable amount of trash that comes down these rivers, especially, like at flood stages and stuff like that. So this island is a bit of a trash trap. And there are certain places on the island where trash accumulates. So I'm basically spending a good portion of the day walking around and hunting trash and then bagging it up and carrying it back to an area right around my camp that I'm calling the trash corral. And basically I'm, stashing all of this trash into a place where I can put some barriers around it. So if we don't get it off of here, it won't float away if and when the river comes up into this island.
So you're doing some good work in addition to raising some money. So I want to leave with one question today, and that is for those of us who might be kind of envying what you're up to out there, what is the best part about being all alone out there on Quarantine Island?
That's a tough question. That's a really tough question. Well, I'm not sure. I think probably I compare it to, what other people's lives are like not here on the island. Mm-hmm. And that is that you don't get much solitude if you live in a house, with kids or anything. How do you break away when you're not allowed to leave the, X number of square feet you're in? So that may be the best part is that
solitude.
I'm not under the social pressure that everyone else is, and that gives me room to, to think better about things and to try and focus on chores and simple things and try and do them the best I can. That's my mantra. Make this simple and, make the simple the best.
Well, that's parts of it sound so lovely. Other parts, I'm not so sure. But Mike Clark, I want to thank you so much for joining us today from Quarantine Island.
Thank you, Sarah.
And if you look up Big Muddy's Instagram page, you can get more information about how to donate to keep Mike away. This is St. Louis on the Air on St. Louis Public Radio. That's 90.7 KWMU.
Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association, providing more than 41,000 jobs in the production of wood pallets, railroad ties, white oak barrels, hardwood floors, and more. Details at choosewood.com.